Thank you for watching, liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing right now.
Hey everybody, we just gave away the ThinkCenter setup from IBM, and luckily one of you was nice enough to leave a nice comment for Kelly, so congratulations to that person. We get a lot of hardware over the course of the average week, some software stuff, and usually it's nice to be able to give it away to someone in the community. And as people who produce content, I happened upon an article, a blog post, co-authored by Jeremy Tolman, who you may remember from GnomeDex a couple of years ago. He gave the presentation on open source hardware. He's worked with Bug Labs, Slingbox, I guess Sling Media, I guess is the official name of the company, and so on and so forth. And he co-authored a blog post on stage2.com, STAGETWO.com, and it's titled Stop Enabling Mediocre Technology. So something that the average viewer may not be aware of is the fact that we do get a lot of stuff to review, to talk about. And some of the stuff really isn't worth talking about. And I see a lot of blog posts and tweets and videos out there, and I watch them, and they're just doing nothing more than pandering or sucking up to companies or PR agencies. And that's one thing that I've done my best to, not do, considering how much stuff that I see on a regular basis. And Kelly's just beginning to, walk into this fray. So I wanted to get Kelly's perspective, specifically on the matter of this blog post, as well as everybody else's out there. And I want you to think, as I'm reading this post, and I haven't asked for permission, but hopefully they won't mind me giving credit to them. I've known Jeremy for a while. I want everybody's thoughts on the matter, specifically in relation to people who you follow online who do this, and they do this. The title of the post again, Stop Enabling Mediocre Technology. Enabling personality types tend to minimize obvious problems, protect people from negative consequences, and suffer from intense denial, among other psychological traits. While the urge to enable is born out of love, the results of this behavior are ultimately destructive. A loved one makes excuses for an addict in the family because they feel that this will help them. In reality, though, it only encourages and prolongs the negative actions. In my mind, many tech reviews, both professional editorial content and amateur user comments, enable mediocre products by overlooking their obvious flaws. These articles give glowing impressions of consumer technologies that are clearly not ready for prime time. The reviewers and commenters are acting from a place of love. They think they are helping by engaging in this behavior. They may feel strongly that a certain company makes great devices, and they really want other people to feel the same way, but what winds up happening is that these individuals make excuses for devices that are lacking in quality, and the entire tech industry suffers as a consequence. The quotes below are for positive product reviews. These have actually been printed. The names and quotes have been altered to protect subpar devices. Quote, I'm sure it'll improve over time, end quote. Quote, this device has a lot of potential, end quote. Quote, there is a ton of potential here, end quote. Again, these quotations are from 3 or 4 star reviews. This kind of cognitive dissonance happens all the time, a reality distortion field. Never mind that the device breaks sometimes or that it's missing some core functions at launch. It's still a good purchase, say the enablers. And because we refuse to call out bad consumer tech, the manufacturers feel they can get away with shipping so-so products. As long as there's sufficient hype, buzz, and social interest, who cares if the gadget doesn't really work that well? This enabling happens in every sector of the lifestyle electronics industry. Take almost any product in the smart TV space, for example. Not that great. But you wouldn't know that from all the noise. These devices have been written up, for the most part, as a good first try and well worth investing in. Android Mobile, up to 2.1, same apologetic story. I can't remember if that version was called Hot Chocolate or Snow Cone. Again, this is his editorial, not mine. But to underscore, I guess, not to undermine his point, this is not an article about Android. Every member, or Android specifically, every member of the CE industry needs to deliver on the promises of amazing tech. We all need to work together on this and raise our standards, not lower them. When a product doesn't work, we should say so. If a device ships with a lot of anticipation but doesn't deliver on its promises, we need to say that too. If most products are written up as pretty good, it makes it harder for consumers to distinguish the truly exceptional devices in the field. quote, 16% of Galaxy tablets are returned, end quote. Why? The enablers are partly to blame, although with those numbers there's plenty of blame to go around. The bottom line is that we all need to approach tech from the perspective of a consumer. We need to hold companies accountable for shipping bad products. Not in a nasty way, but in an honest way. When that starts to happen, I believe the overall quality of consumer tech will improve. By encouraging people to purchase products that do not perform as they should, we tacitly encourage bad behavior from the industry as a whole. And that, by definition, is enabling. Kelly, I think you've been watching the chat room. Now, they could be spinning off into conversations, all their own, as they're likely doing, because we're doing this in front of the live video feed. But what are your thoughts on this article?
It's like you said, if you promote every mediocre product, and you also promote a great product using the same language, there's no differentiation between a mediocre product, a great product, or even a bad product, because you're promoting everything in a positive note. So how does the consumer know what is exceptional? And when you, as a blogger, as myself as a blogger, as anybody who does reviews, whether on video or on a blog, doesn't differentiate between what's great or what's bad, and everything is just a mediocre review, it waters down us as an industry, because we can't be trusted to write about things honestly.
But see, the funny thing is, and the irony of your statement is that we can't be trusted if we review everything in a glowing fashion.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that, at least in my experience in the past, when I've come out and said that Android hasn't matured yet, I was right, because it's only gotten better. When I came out and put my entire reputation on the line by saying Windows Vista was a mistake, fast forward a few years, well, you look at the marketing for Windows 7, Windows 7 was my idea. No one wants to take credit for Vista. So even when I put myself out there at the time when popular opinion wants to steer you in another direction, some people have trusted me less because of my honesty. So how do you navigate those waters?
I think because a lot of other bloggers are doing that people like you who are honest are put into a category of you're not to be trusted because you are honest, whereas there is a large segment of bloggers, albeit a large segment of new bloggers, who will write about anything and everything in a glowing light because they want to promote a product, and they want that product for free, and they just want a room full of products, so they will write about anything and everything to have things, because as an industry, that's what we get is products, and if we touch it, we get to keep it, and they will do anything to have that. Whereas for someone like us, you, me, that's not what we're in this for, and so we're honest.
Yeah, no, generally speaking, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I like getting free product, but specifically only when I know it's going to accommodate my community. Is in the greater whole, or as our community, or shared community.
Yeah.
It's not to the point though where I'm going to say that everything's good, or that. Well, I would hope that no one would say that everything's good. The problem is that people hear what they want to hear. So if you came out and you've got an Android device, if you came out and you said anything bad about that device, despite you being someone who's paid money to get several, how many Android devices have you had?
It's my first.
Okay, so one Android device, likely you would use another Android device in the future, someone who spent money on this stuff. If you came out and said anything bad about that, you would be lambasted. How do you respond to that? Because if it's honest feedback, if it's viable feedback, constructive feedback, how do you respond to someone who really honestly thinks that you're a shill?
Because I want to make it better. Because there are things that aren't great about this device, and although I am a proponent of Android, I think it could be better, and I've seen it get better. I've gone from version to version of Android, and I've seen it get better, but like anything I've used, Windows, Android, there's tons of other products out there. If you use them long enough, you become a proponent of that device, and you see the weaknesses, and you may write to them, and you may say, I'm a fan of this, but needs to get better. An example of something on a smaller scale is an app. It has a bug. So if you're a huge fan of it, but you want to keep using it because you can see the purpose of being functional, you write to them and you say, this is something you can improve, make it better, because I want to become a fan of it for life, or the near future of your life. But if you really hate it, and you don't see a use in it, you say so, because you don't want anybody else to buy into such a failure of a product. And so you have to be honest because you believe that it's not worth it for anybody else.
Right. But then what happens when someone says, oh, you're just saying that because of X, Y, and Z? When that isn't anywhere near the truth, it's closer to their truth. And that's the problem, is that,
Point that out.
well, I mean, there's 1,000,001 videos on YouTube. And this is one of the reasons why, I've done it in the past, certainly. Like when I get a new product, I'll unbox it. I think a lot of unboxings are bullshit. Because you don't have any time to spend with the product, as you pointed out, over time to point out its strengths and its weaknesses. That's why I'd rather upload personally or put out there my initial impressions of a product, or only want to review a product after I've spent time with it. And unfortunately, that bar is incredibly high. I mean, we get a lot of stuff. We get a lot of stuff. Software, hardware, services, a lot of stuff to be paid attention to. And there's some amount of pressure that if you do not, as a product reviewer, if you do not put a glowing review on something, you're blackballed. There's certain PR agents who won't talk to me anymore because I've talked honestly about their products.
But what is it? That's the problem with a lot of PR, is that they need that feedback. And if they're going to put out a crappy product...
Right, but PR doesn't care. All they care about is numbers. So the question is how can you better communicate to your audience that you're doing them a service by being honest? Even if they hate you for being honest. You can't win.
You can't win.
You can't
You
win.
have to keep... I mean, the best we can do is be honest. The best we can do is not pander to our audience and not give them the BS about how great the product is if it's not. I started writing an article the other day about the new HTC Facebook phones, and
again, this is not about Android. This is not about mobile device. This is just pointing this out.
This is not about any.
Well, people they'll slag. I mean,
I started writing an article, but
go ahead. Sorry, continue, and I'll call to mind the first time I talked about the iPhone. It wasn't very positive.
So I started basically pandering about how the day has come for the new Facebook phones, when in reality, while they may serve a purpose for some audience, some demographic, I don't see how great they are. But I started to pander when, in reality, that's not what we should be doing. Not as bloggers, as a whole demographic, as a whole part of the industry. Write about it honestly, because if I had moved forward with that tone, our audience would think that it really was a great feature and something that they should look forward to, because they trust us. When in reality, I should be honest, and we should be honest and point things out as they are.
But again, it's a vicious circle. You're honest about your perspectives, yet someone trusts you less because you're being honest, because it doesn't match their truth.
But if you, like you've done over the past 15 years, if your honesty has built up your credibility, I would rather have credibility than have a watered-down blog and source of not true.
I've done my best. And it's very, very difficult to walk that line when you know that something can work to the community's benefit, something that works from a content benefit, and something that is just destroying your credibility, calling it into question. I came out the first day, to circle back to make sure this is not just about Android, the first video I recorded about the iPhone was the day it launched. I said, this is stupid. Who wants to buy this? Obviously, long story short, I'm like, but people forget how quickly people forget.
But to look at that honestly, the iPhone has evolved so far.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, that thing really was kind of a disaster in the very beginning. But, even to be honest about that, I may switch from an Android to the iPhone 5 on the Verizon.
But see, people who like Android will call you a traitor. They'll call into question your integrity based on their opinions, not reality, but their version of the truth.
And what can you do about that? What do you do about that?
That's my question. Well, see, to me, I just go full speed ahead. Honestly, and people get mad at me and they say, "Oh, Chris, it's not the same, and you're not the same as you were 10 years ago." Well, no shit, I'm not the same as I was 10 years ago. God, if I ever meet one person who's the same person as they were 10 years ago, that is a very sad individual.
I would hope that I was not the same person I was 10 years ago.
But people forget. They said, "Chris, you need to get back to your roots on YouTube." I'm like, do they realize that the videos that I first uploaded long before YouTube really didn't have much to do about technology? They really didn't. I mean, I talk about my personal life. I do some wacky, stupid thing like watching paint dry and record that in a video.
And you still
swear to God I did this
What
stuff.
did you do yesterday, Chris?
What did I do yesterday?
You duct taped together a keyboard, an iPhone, and
Yeah, that was fun.
okay, so
I
maybe
duct
not
taped
much
the
has
iPad.
changed.
That got like 10,000 views on Twitter. That was kind of popular. I do that kind of wacky stuff, but even the first video I uploaded to YouTube was more of a humorous one. You know, it has like over 1 million views. I mean, the first one that I did has nothing to do with technology. So people's perspectives, I think, are skewed. And it's very difficult to watch someone who, you know, well, at least like me, is a geek, who's just loving everything that they see. I think I can't trust that person. I know I can't trust that person. Not everything is amazing.
You know, there's things, it's interesting to see how tech reviews differ from things like Yelp and restaurant reviews on Yelp, because people are very open to critical reviews of restaurants and small businesses on Yelp. But you look at tech reviews, and people are absolutely critical of criticism of tech on blogs. They want every review to be glowing and raving.
You're right.
And you look at restaurants, people actually expect to see a critical review because they want an honest review of a restaurant. But the dichotomy of a food blogger to a tech blogger is actually fascinating, that they expect that open honesty from that kind of blogger. But you look at bloggers on Locker Dome and the other top tier blogs, and if you see any kind of negativity, they're instantly, you know,
they're attacked.
They're attacked
right.
Because they dare have an opinion. So how did that evolve?
That's interesting. I never even thought about that juxtaposition until you brought it up. That's very interesting. I wonder why.
We expect to see how the service was at a restaurant, how fast the food came out, and why we're actually very critical as a society of going out to eat. I know whenever I go out to eat, I look for, maybe that's my background as a waitress during college, but even people who never were in the industry are critical of eating out. There is a huge foodie industry, especially locally in Seattle. But yeah, on tech blogs, which also have a huge presence in Seattle,
that's interesting.
They're blasted for being critical.
Wow. You know, honestly, I think that it boils down to, well, just an open-mindedness and knowing that not every product is perfect. And unfortunately, people bring their own bias to everything, whether it's food or technology, just to use that as an example. And I think we all have to keep that in mind when we see something. Let's say I review this notebook computer, and I say, this is really awesome because the screen is this big. And someone may say, oh, well, you screwed that up. Well, wait a minute, dude, that's your truth. And I think if you, watching the video, keep in mind that your life is not everybody else's, I think maybe we could, as a community, whether we're producing tech content or consuming it, become a little more open-minded and really, ascribe, to a much, a much more, egalitarian type of ecosystem where you've got, an expectation that there's not going to be perfection in everything that's produced.
And I actually think that part of it is developing more of a community for people to engage and discuss these products, which I think we're doing at Locker Room, where we have
we're trying,
the ability for people to discuss it, whereas a lot of blogs...
how do you keep that negativity away on YouTube? How? I mean, like, there's so much, I mean, like, someone decides that they don't like it, thumbs down, or, and even though it has nothing to do with the content itself, it's so relative. Honestly, ratings mean virtually nothing to me. The only thing that matters to me, honestly, is video responses.
I think that a lot of it is people hide behind the ability to be anonymous when they comment on YouTube. And I think we can maybe hope to expect that with more of a connect with Facebook, universal login type thing. Yeah. People have to be responsible, they have to be themselves. They can't hide behind a name that's not theirs, and I think that may help. And I don't see a way to resolve that because people are just angry. I mean, we live in a society, there's a lot of problems. People have a lot of problems. We're still battling economic issues. There's a lot of problems in the world, and we have our community is worldwide, and people are facing issues that we don't even understand. So I think there's a lot of anger that's being directed. We had an email from a reader that was facing personal problems, and openly admitted he was taking it out on us. And I think that's probably a situation that occurs with a lot of our readers. But
see, to me, that's where the video responses mean more to me. Not to say that comments don't. I mean, funny thing is people who leave bad comments don't realize that they're actually helping us. It's when it's a video response, because ultimately, it's sometimes it's the amount of comments that you get. but the video responses put that person in perspective, and their face is on the line, and so it's not hiding behind an anonymous name. That ultimately I respect. I respect someone's opinion if I know who they are versus an anonymous troll.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they'll say, oh, you only love the iPhone. I'm like, no, that's not true. Oh, you only love Android. No, that's not true. You could write an article, you can do a video, and someone will say, you love Apple. And another person will say, you hate Apple. From the same piece of content. That's two different perspectives, the same piece of content.
They're just trolls, and we appreciate the thoughts that are actually thoughts and well thought out thoughts. And if you have something to say that means something, even if it's an adverse thought, as long as it's cohesive, like, we appreciate that. And the videos we love the video responses. Obviously, a well thought out video response has way more credibility and meaning to us. To any YouTube audience.
It's funny though, some of the trolls, and I don't mean to slag them, but I will, because they're trolls, and they don't mean much to me. They can't even afford a webcam, or a computer with a webcam, and that's one of the reasons why trolls do not leave video responses. They can't afford it, which only speaks to their anger. I guess I'd be kind of angry too if I couldn't afford a webcam. That's just me.
And they may have never even thought about it. They're just not even, they're a troll in an environment that they don't even understand. They probably aren't even that tech savvy to begin with.
And I understand, and I put in this category, it's all kind of it's the same stuff. We're talking about stuff in the same pot. I consider a troll, someone who, would lambast me for my opinion, because it didn't match up with their opinion. It's just like me attacking you for your religious choice, or your choice to live in Seattle versus the East Side. I mean, it's your choice, it's your life. It's your beliefs, it's your opinions. Whether it's about technology, food, or beyond.
And it's these trolls that come at you and attack you personally
in
response to a thought about a product. They have nothing to say about what you said. They just are going to attack you about your glasses or your hair or these lights or something completely unrelated because they have nothing to say about what you actually thought.
And you'd think that stops in grade school. Unfortunately, there are adults out there who have just the same kind of ethos where they just don't think about what they're doing. They don't think about their opinions in relation to another's opinions. So when you get a product, giving it a fair shake, being honest from your perspective, keeping that in mind, hopefully someone with ethics would do that, but just being aware that not everybody does that, and that can take down the entire industry. And that's on the production side. From the consumption side, I think you'd have to have just as much respect in knowing when someone gives you their straight, honest opinion about a product, whether it aligns with yours or not, just keeping in mind that they're being honest. And like I said, the tech consumer, I think, has just as much responsibility as the content producer.
And that honest opinion by bloggers and video reviewers who are honest is going to keep the tech industry honest. And it's going to keep great products from becoming better and keep mediocre products from continuing on to be mediocre. I'd rather have a evolution of great phones and great computers than have a future of kind of just pools of shitty products, because that's not going to make us better. It's not going to give us tools to do our jobs better, our lives better, or enable our social circles to evolve.
I'd almost challenge anybody who likes a product to contact that product development team or project team and tell them how the product can improve. Because that would go a lot farther. I mean, there's something to be said. I only talk about or give attention to things, generally speaking, that I think are worth giving attention to. It doesn't always happen. And other people are like this as well. But I'm far more critical about the things I want to like than the things I just don't care about. I'm far more critical. And again, the irony is that people will sometimes see that as just not an attack. I'm like, do you understand? I'm only critical because it could be better.
I want to make things better that matter to me so that I can use them more and continue to use them in my future. Whether it's just a simple app that has a bug in it that I'd like to continue to use because it makes my life better, or if it's, I don't know, contacting another blogger because I think they had a hole in their argument, and if they said this, then we'd have a team effort to move forward and really make an impact on the industry as a whole. And that brings another point, is working together in this industry. We have to align ourselves and agree that this is how we need to operate. If all of us, the rest of them, continue to pander to this type of behavior and continue to write about products that should not be promoted, then we're going to continue to be blasted by products and by PR because we're going to look like outliers. And they're only going to hurt themselves because they're going to continue to get products that don't benefit them.
Yeah, but see, they're going to be reinforced by that, though. Unfortunately, it's a cycle where it doesn't matter if the product's good or bad as long as people are talking about it. I mean, it's just like they'd written in the article.
Yeah.
It just matters about buzz. It's sad, but it's absolutely true. And I know we've kind of waxed pathetic for a little while, but hopefully you guys have got some amount of perspective, whether you are someone who produces content online. Even if, honestly, if you're on Twitter and you're sharing what you like, that's producing content. How do you become a better consumer? How do you become a better reviewer? Inside the world of technology. I mean, we've brought up other examples like food. I mean, how can the tech industry be more like the food industry? Being able to accommodate constructive feedback, and granted some amount of negativity, but I think the negativity is kind of directed in a different way, where we come to expect that a product will not be perfect. How can we be more responsible for delivering an honest opinion without the fear of reprisal? It's a question, I guess it's a general question I have too. I mean, even for the stuff that we do, like, how could we do it better? And everyone's going to have an opinion, and knowing that we can't always do everything the way you want to do it. And I've been doing it tongue in cheek, but the world doesn't revolve around you, right? I mean, I've said that a few times, but it holds very much true, specifically in the world of technology. Not every choice is a valid choice. And there's some choices that, when I come out and state my opinion, I stand by my opinion, and I'll back it up, and I'll put my face and my reputation on the line. I've done it before, and I've had to eat crow. Again, said the iPhone was stupid. Oh, God. Yeah, I'm never going to live that one down. Either way, curious to know your opinions on this whole matter of the tech industry not giving you, not being straight shooters. And what we can do different together.